Everyone has rituals. For us, there's one ritual we take very seriously. Every day, we listen to the Wu-Tang Clan. We have to, because Robert Diggs, aka RZA, the legendary hip-hop artist and heart and soul of the Wu-Tang Clan, composed the theme song for this program. This week, we got to spend some time with him to talk about music, Black Lives Matter, Donald Trump, and, of course, Martin Shkreli. As you may know, Shkreli is the infamous pharmaceutical executive who price gouged a vital drug and who was arrested on charges of securities fraud last month. But he's also the guy who bought the most exclusive album in the world, Wu-Tang's coveted Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, of which there is only one copy. Shkreli paid $2 million for that album in November. So naturally, I had to get to start with RZA by asking his thoughts on one of his most notorious fans. What kind of vibe did you get off the guy when you met him?
We talked briefly about where he come from.
Yeah.
Briefly, about what Wu-Tang mean. He was actually he was present at this. We did a thing at MoMA where we played the 12 minutes, and he was also in that audience. So he heard the 12 minutes, and he just really enjoyed the music. I couldn't measure if he was a guy in college, you know what I mean? Couldn't get it, you know what I mean?
So he buys the record, right? And then Bloomberg Business Week does this story that says that he's the buyer of it. You then found out, about kind of a little bit more about the guy, right? That he had jacked up the prices on these HIV drugs, and then subsequent to that, he ends up getting charged with securities fraud, right?
Wow.
So that's all this stuff that's happened since then, right? And I know you put out a statement, saying to the magazine, saying, hey, when we came to this agreement, this is all before I knew anything about all this stuff, and I don't really know anything about this, right? But he's then quoted someplace in December. He said it's about you. He said you were arrogant, and he said he'd given you a bunch of money, and he said, I'd encourage him to shut the f up before he goes a little too far. We'll see what happens. I think he's a smart man. He definitely acts like his doesn't stink, and he invented rap. This concept of selling one album, this is backfiring for him now. That's what he said about you.
Wow.
That seems a little hostile.
That's a little hostile, but what could backfire from creating a piece of art, having an idea, and see it grow into fruition? As far as me being arrogant, it depends on what day you catch me, baby. I could be arrogant, right? Yeah. But most people that know me, respect me because I am down to earth and very communicative.
Let's say he ends up going to jail for securities fraud. Does it bother you that that guy has the one copy of this record? He even said the other day he hasn't listened to it yet. He doesn't know when he's going to listen to it.
Right.
It's like he's kind of taunting people. I bought the one copy. I'm not even going to listen to the damn thing.
He bought it. He could do what he wants, right? The power of art is that. So I could never discriminate if the most greatest man in the world was the one who wanted to possess it. It would have been his objective. If my enemy came to an auction and was like, yo, I want that picture of RZA just to throw darts at it.
Yeah.
It's being auctioned. So that's something that I could never, ever, at this age of my life and through the years I've been, I can never discriminate who appreciate art.
So is there any way for that, given the nature of the contract, for more of the world to get to hear this record?
He has the power to do something really cool. Right. He can, if he want to be philanthropic, he can do something that could allow more people to hear the record. If he concurs to that, then that'd be something really good for art and really good for the Wu fans.
Let me ask you about, let's just shift a little bit and talk about politics here for a second. In the last year, at least, one of the political movements that's had the most energy around it has been Black Lives Matter, right?
Yes.
Because of all the stuff that's happened in a lot of cities around the country with police brutality and wrongful deaths and so on. When you see that movement kind of taking shape, what do you think of that when you see Black Lives Matter?
Of course Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean? All lives matter. I'll stop eating meat because their life matter to me. You know what I mean? I don't think it's necessary for us to grow a cow to kill it. I don't think it's necessary for if I'm in law enforcement, and look, I wanted to be in law enforcement as a kid.
Really?
Yeah, come on, man. Berettas? I grew up with Beretta, Starsky, and Hutch.
Yeah.
Come on, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you like Starsky or Hutch? Which one do you like better?
Depending on what episode. Okay. Right? Yeah. But I was just saying, you wanted to be these guys, you know what I mean? And then to come when you grow up and you see what's happening, the image of that is being taken away. You know, in the old days, you're a cop, you let him in your house and give him a cookie and milk. Now you're like, yo, you know? So all lives matter. And I love what the police do for our society. I love the idea of it, to serve and protect. And as long as those who are upholding that idea, then they are beneficiary to society. But for those who would ever lose that focus, you know what I mean? Whether they lose it through fear, through stress, or do not being properly trained, and they are allowed to go in the streets, and how could you enforce law if you don't understand law? Right? But when you think about, you know, some of the brothers who are being brutalized by the police, you know what I mean? You also gotta have them take a look in the mirror at the image we portray. If you think, if I'm a cop, and every time I see a young black youth, whether I watch them on TV, movies, or just see them hanging out, and they're not looking, you know, properly dressed, properly refined, you know, carrying themselves, conducting themselves the proper hours of the day, things that a man does, you know what I mean? You're going to have a certain kind of fear and stereotype of them. And that's when I tell my sons, I'm like, yo, I say, if you're going somewhere, you don't have to wear a hoodie, and you know, we live in New York, so hoodies and all that is all good. But sometimes, button up your shirt, you know, clean up, look like a young man. You're not a little kid, you know what I mean? So I think that's another big issue we gotta pay attention to is the image that we portray that could invoke a fear to a white officer or to any officer.
I saw you get quoted the other day saying something about how you don't support Trump at all, but you like Trump on some level because he's a New Yorker and you're a New Yorker. So you know, so is Trump like just a lot of hype, or you think that guy's actually got a chance of being the president of the United States? And what do you think about that he's such a big deal right now?
Well, I mean, look, Trump has always been a smart man. He's always made it from you know, when he had a problem, he came back stronger. And I mean, he's a smart dude. Is Mr. Trump good to be the president of the United States? That's an equation you got to measure against other presidents. Does he have all the qualities? Education. You know, one thing about Barack Obama that we all can agree is the man is highly intelligent, great speaker. You know, will I allow Mr. Trump to come run my company? Yes, I would love that, right? Would I support him to run my country? I wouldn't make a short bet on that because I don't see those qualifications being the same. Unless, let me just say this, unless somebody tell me America is nothing but a big company.
Right. That's a theory.
That's a theory, huh?
That's a theory. But you like the way he talks, though, right? I mean, there's like that New Yorker thing. If you're a New Yorker,
man, every New Yorker. Trump is like, yo, you know, you talk, hey, move it. You know, no, Trump keeps it real. You know what I mean? So I think, you know, somebody like Hillary Clinton being as our next president, I like that again. When you think about the history and trajectory of our country from the beginning of the founding, you know, we've seen a black man as a president. I mean, that means a lot in this country. You know what I mean? And then a woman as a president, to me, that's a 1-2 punch. We're really living our freedom, justice, and equality, the pursuit of happiness, liberty. Those things are becoming real, and we're not discriminating from who's qualified to be the best person for the job.
You know, this show, with all due respect, has been on the air now for a little over a year, and a lot of people don't know that you did the music for the show. And I gotta say, every single day we go out and do the show, and the music always like does exactly what we wanted the music to do, which is like gets us all pumped up at the beginning of the show, and then have all these really beautiful little, you know, the intros and outros and all that kind of stuff. When we came to you and said, make this music, and said the show's called With All Due Respect, what did you think about when you thought about writing music for a show with that name?
Well, in all due respect, right? Well, I just had to respect, the vibe of what you guys are dealing with. I saw the trailer that you had put together. I think one of your producers had a request for a certain Sonic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think he wanted like a Run DMC Sonic or something. And I thought I tried to write something like that, but then I watched the trailer. I was like, you know what? That's cool, but I think this is something that really is a balanced idea of giving you hip, giving you TV, you know what I mean, and giving you something that I think as time goes on, you'll like it more. Yeah. You know what I mean? That was my strive.
Man, that's beautiful. That was kind of incredible. So it's worked out really, really well.
Bong, Wu-Tang brother. Thanks, John.